Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, taking a super fun and exciting video for you guys today, and one that I am particularly excited about. That is because it seems like in MAME 286, which is not out yet, we're going to be getting some Namco System 23 improvements, making some games playable for the first time that have never been playable before. If you know me and you know the channel, you know I love three things: arcade games, arcade racing games, and arcade preservation. So today we're taking a look at an in-progress build of MAME on some of the commits, and you're watching Race On footage. And if that game doesn't sound familiar, you probably never saw it in arcades. It didn't really succeed the same way Ridge Racer did, but it was an 8-player, if you had all the cabinets in a row, arcade racing game that actually incorporated a webcam into the cabinet so you could get your face on the actual screen. Obviously, this is not 100% perfect emulation. It's going to be a little bit of a trippy video, but it's kind of fun to see how the sausage gets made, for lack of a better term. Before you get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But in 2025, we saw a ton of improvements to Namco System 22 as well as Namco System 23. And even though Gunman Wars still isn't working, Race On now is quote-unquote playable. You obviously can tell, I don't need to point them out to you, there are a lot of visual issues here and a lot of what seems to be Z-buffer issues. Basically, nothing knows exactly where it's supposed to be on screen, but this definitely isn't something that you're going to sit down and think to yourself, man, this is a hidden gem, because right now it is more experimental than anything. But that in and of itself is great, because it means Namco System 23 is seeing more improvements. This is basically how things always work. You end up with a build that gets a game running, but it doesn't actually look correctly or doesn't perform well, and then you improve the emulation over time until you get to the point where you'd basically have no idea that you weren't just playing on real Namco System 23 hardware. And trust me, you don't want to play on real Namco System 23 hardware. I have one board in my closet, and I don't even take the thing out because wiring it up, getting all the power in, takes longer than actually sitting down and just playing the game. And that really is the dumb part about my arcade collection. I love light gun games, and I love arcade racing games, especially ones that were never ported home. So something like Race On, I would definitely pick this up if I could find a PCB for sale, but right now there isn't one. And that's been a lot of my collection, getting games that do not emulate, making custom controller harnesses so I can sit down in my game room and studio with a wheel and pedal set and play arcade racing games that never came home. But for 99 out of 100 of you, and even for me, probably joining that 100 at some point in time, because honestly, I'm running out of space for more arcade boards, playing in MAME, playing via emulation, it's just the better way to go. And something like Race On here, definitely a game that I think you guys should check out, because I have played the original arcade cabinet. I played it like maybe 6 years ago. I actually found one in an arcade while traveling, and it is absolutely a fun time that kind of feels like a mix between something like Ridge Racer, Rave Racer, as well as San Francisco Rush, even a little Cruisin' USA in the mix. Because it has some fun jumps, it has some fun features, and again, it is an incredibly rare game that if you do see an arcade cabinet for, definitely throw some quarters in, because you probably won't see it again. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, did you even know that something like Race On actually existed compared to Ridge Racer or Rave Racer, which is getting its Arcade Archives 2 port home sometime soon, and I definitely will be reviewing that. But you'll see here we managed to take 3rd place even though you can barely tell what's going on. And big thanks to the moderator of my Discord, the Cool Pup, for helping with the capture on this footage. I've had a very busy 3-day weekend. Not quite sure when I'm going to actually air this one, but I'm sure you guys will see it soon. And as we move into the next lap here, I absolutely love the Namco System 23 look. It might not have kept up with something like the Sega Model 3, but it did a good enough job to be basically better graphics than we had at home until the Dreamcast came out. And if you're wondering why the roads converge there, again, absolutely a trippy version of the game, but there's something fun about the extra chaos of the graphics being completely corrupted, but still visible, on top of the fact that the races are absolute chaos in their own right. It even looks like some things are actually going backwards. So the fact that you can even play this right now is impressive, but honestly, give it a shot in its current version, because it is trippy in all the best ways. Let's do the first 2 soundtrack samples, because audio here feels pretty much buttoned up, and I'll be right back with a lot more Race On and MAME news.
Red 1 is really flying. They've just crossed the control line.
So maybe some of the eagle-eared viewers among you right now notice that you actually had the announcer's voice only in the right-hand side of a stereo pair channel. That seems to be something that could be improved in future versions, or it could be something that maybe just the arcade cabinet did. Because the hardest part about arcade emulation of racing games, outside of getting the games to run, is dealing with the audio, because a lot of times you would have speakers behind you in the actual chair, to the left and to the right, as well as the front channels. So it's one of those things. Basically every single arcade racing game was more than just stereo. I wouldn't exactly call it 5.1 surround, but it definitely was a variation of that. And you'll see here in all of the track sequences, you could put your face in the game. And that's something that definitely became a vibe in arcades around this time and continues to this day, being able to actually put your face in the game and kind of play as quote-unquote yourself. And I don't know if that's anything that the developer here, Mog, has planned for the future, but I'd love to see it. And that dude right there in the middle, if that's just not a young Roger Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon, I don't know who it is. And that is something I still live my life by, especially now that I'm getting older. If Roger Murtaugh was too old for that shit, I'm probably too old for it as well. But you'll see here these massive jumps, even going into the water. And this is something that Namco really didn't play around with much. Yes, Ridge Racer and yes, Rave Racer can be absolutely intense races, and there were a few jumps in something like Dirt Dash, but honestly Race On kind of tried to play up that San Francisco vibe. And with all of Hamster's Arcade Archive releases bringing Rave Racer home for the first time, this is the type of thing that I definitely feel like Hamster might bring to the table in the future, because it is all shared hardware between something like Rave Racer, Ridge Racer, and Race On, with just slight variance in the power levels. But as far as the actual code base is concerned, it is extremely similar across both versions of the boards, even the Super Series of them. But again, I totally understand that this isn't something that would be playable even if you can play it, because the graphics are absolutely all over the place. But for the longest time since the beginning of MAME, this is something that you really couldn't see running in the game unless you actually had a lot of trickery going on in the background and basically forced the game to run, and that's definitely something I don't teach people and advise to do, because it barely ever does work. So hopefully in the next month, 3 months, 6 months, or even a year, you will see something like Race On end up with perfect graphics, something that you can just sit down and absolutely play on MAME without thinking about how it works. But I personally love to see all the evolutions of how emulation does get improved, because I have a very big curiosity on how all the arcade hardware works. That's basically why I collected it in the first place. Back in the day, I would go to arcades and think to myself, it looks so much better than the home console. And then as I became more of an adult enough to basically blow his money on arcade boards, I thought to myself, it would be really fun to collect some of this hardware and actually get a look under the hood to better understand how it functions, and that's why I buy arcade boards. Let's do the second of two soundtrack samples. Again, I think the audio is like 95% buttoned up, but there's definitely some stereo pair issues here. But go ahead and listen to the music, enjoy it, but come back. I'll talk about what I hope to see in the future from MAME and Namco System 23.
They've just crossed the control line. The race is in the final lap. Red 1 has caught up to the pack. What happened? Red 1 doing some bumping out there. This could be trouble. Red 1, he's taken the checkered flag.
So basically what's happening there is the music for the game is coming out of the right channel, as is the announcer, and the actual engine noises are coming out of the left channel. It might be harder to tell if you weren't wearing headphones when you actually listen to that, but I always edit and do all my voiceovers. The studio monitor is on my ear, so it's something easy for me to detect. But even though this game has graphical glitches, even though it has texture issues, even though it has some of the stereo issues as well that you just heard, this is absolutely still 10 out of 10 outstanding, and it really goes to show that arcade emulation keeps getting better every single month, and some of these rare deeper cut arcade cabinets like Race On the Namco System 23 one day will be fully playable in MAME, and that is amazing. But leave me a comment down below and you tell me, if you could snap your fingers and make one game have perfect emulation right now in MAME, which one would it be? For me, it's got to be the 3DO M2, just because I want everyone to play it. But we're done. Look out for the MAME 286 is out video soon. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.